This program is proudly brought to you by LateNightMedia.com for all your podcasting, comedy writing, and hot steaming pod needs. LateNightMedia.com.
Conscious wisdom, challenging our skeptical, critical thinking, digging deep into the dark and the light, and exploring the depths of our mind, body, and spirit. The podcast sprinkled with science, creativity, ageless wisdom, philosophy, and conspiracy. So be part of the discussion and get involved. Be part of the action of thinking and being the revolution. Be conscious with wisdom. Conscious wisdom, challenging our skeptical, critical thinking.
So I guess, is it the same sort of thing? We're looking at a perspective where a lot of people we think are in turmoil in all these different places, but really it seems quite stable. It seems like the communities in various places know what they're doing. They know that they're protecting themselves against possibilities of something happening. But it seems like, in a sense, where everything is dire, we're going to this World War III. It doesn't really seem like it. It seems like we're finding collectively ways to avoid that sort of theatre playing out.
Yeah, what I sense also, people are like having enough of all the fights. People turning off television, don't see television anymore, don't see that. It's all bad news about that. But in their awareness, they want to be living lovingly, nicely, harmoniously. So all this competition, try to get more, better, and more power, is only happening in this top level of echelons like the...
It does seem like it's a Game of Thrones to tell the scenario where it's just the only people who are really battling with each other are these guys, these proposed kings of corporations who are there to pretty much tackle each other and take each other out how they seem fit. But what's your take on it?
It's interesting because certainly there's a lot going on energetically at the moment, and I think the media makes a living out of spreading and distributing negativity and separation. It's fair enough that we've got a reasonably comfortable reality at this point in time, but if we're living in Gaza or Syria or Libya or somewhere at this point in time, our perspective of reality might be quite different.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think there's these it's in the death throes at the moment of survivalism, where they're resorting to invasion and occupation of countries because of financial systems not being sustainable anymore, so they're just basically moving in and raping and pillaging other countries to take their assets.
And that does seem like it would be a death roll, wouldn't it? That's like you're going, oh well, we're just going to take stuff now, and that's when I'm sure people are just like, wait a second, buddy, no. And that's where I think people collectively get together. At that point.
Now the conflicts actually, what I can sense in the old days is robbing the assets, want to have more. But now, lately, let's say, the war is between the good and the evil. Now is everything disclosed. You have done this, you have done this, you have done this, and people don't like it. Now it's the war. There is no war between countries anymore, actually. It's between the people who did something.
Well, it is. You're exactly
badly.
right. This stereotype is that like these people are good, these people are bad.
The corporations, the bankers, things like that.
All that they're about, yeah.
It's not a nation against nation anymore, but people against the oppressor. And now what is actually intuitively, now we have all this refugee crisis in Europe and everywhere. Now the trend is actually, you see, the government, the politician and everything is rather obsolete. We don't need them anymore. Soon, I don't know how soon, probably 10 years, 20 years, probably we don't even need the nation border anymore. Just open. to everyone. That's the vision.
Well, it's true. If you look into a lot of the divisions within countries, that's where a lot of stuff comes. Especially the highest one is Gaza. If you look at the Gaza, just the division and the mentality between that division is enough to create such a barbarism between them both, especially between...
The brutality that's being exposed in the Gaza at the moment is just criminal. It's blatantly criminal.
Oh, it is.
I don't shooting children and that sort of
I don't
thing.
want to see like half the stuff that comes out there because it's it's terrible. Like, I don't want to see what they're doing, but I know that they're doing it. But I guess there comes a time where it has to be addressed because you can't be a leader of a nation and then stand behind that sort of atrocities and then just feel that it's your place to do that because you feel headstrong about it.
Well, it's interesting. Did you see Netanyahu's address to the UN recently?
Is that the one where they kind of just didn't really... He did this weird stare?
Yeah.
And this was the thing on Facebook because like he tried to make a point and stared to add extra like oomph to
Impact
it, and everyone just
but
thought
it was just cringingly
weird.
embarrassing.
It was cringingly embarrassing.
And it just fully reflected back onto him again.
Yeah.
Which was really interesting. But I think I agree with what you're saying, and Ian Crane refers it to it as like it's a decloaking that's happening at the moment where they're just being blatant about it, and people are actually seeing fully for what's going on at the moment at this point in time.
Well, I think it's with a rise in consciousness, because if you're raising in consciousness or you're becoming more aware of stuff, I have a feeling that it was always there. It was always very easy to see. It's whether or not you wanted to see it. I guess that's what a global thing is all about, and a global raise of consciousness is people in more collective getting together and going, wait a second, I can talk about this, and it seems right. Like I'm not going to listen to this news, and that sort of helps, I think, sort of demystify a lot of like people in authority, and start to challenge them.
Well, there's a lot of people sort of cleaning up their act at the moment individually as well, and we touched on it last time. We talked about Ben Stewart's documentary Kymatica, and about how what's going on in the world at the moment is also a reflection of our collective unconsciousness, or our collective unconscious, about what the lies that we tell ourselves and we tell each other in the microcosm as well. So it's playing out, and I think that a lot of people stepping up their game and cleaning up their act on a personal level, and cleaning up their outnesses and their grudges and all those sorts of things. So it's there's a lot of people doing a lot of work spiritually. At the moment, and through the plant medicine groups, and through prayer, and it's everyone's getting called. People that are working in as healers and mystics and light workers, or whatever you want to call them, and we're really getting called to step up and contribute fully, because it feels like it's a crucial time at the moment, and it's definitely an exposure, the shift of. The light against the dark. Life, but I don't think we should be sitting back on our laurels and just thinking that it's just observing it as if we're passive bystanders, and that it's going to work itself out anyway.
This is what helped prompt us do a bit of the podcast, was the stuff that came out of Mark Passio. And another thing that Mark Passio did sort of delve upon in this whole field is that there's so many people out there who are trying to promote this change, who are trying to promote a positive light, but yet they don't do anything.
Sure. And I was having a discussion with some guys that are running like men's spiritual circles in Tennessee and that sort of thing as well, and having an interesting conversation where some people, I referred it to as like hiding in the light, so people refuse to look at their own shadow by, associating with those groups, because basically they think that people won't call them on their shit.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
So, and that's what I'm talking about people taking responsibility for themselves fully. That's the only thing, is the way forward is for each person to take full responsibility of their own sovereignty and their own thoughts and their own actions and their own deeds and how they carry themselves. And
then collectively get together, and you blend both the two worlds into something that's
if enough of the individuals do it, it affects the collective. It's like the 100th monkey theory, if enough people sort of do it, it automatically shifts anyway. So you don't have to reach everyone, you just need to reach, enough people for it to create the shift.
There is also, if you're listening also some alternative media, some talking about this wave X. The energy is coming to our solar system. And there's also a kind of energy that's new to us. And we still actually right now still speculating what's going to affect us. Some people think it's going to affect our DNA.
Yes.
It's going to affect our awareness. And people become more psychic.
Intuitive.
More aware, intuitive.
Well, I guess
now, talking about intuitive is actually now, we are in the age of information, and the information is so much, and you don't know anymore what is information and what is disinformation.
Yeah, it's true.
Now, it's actually what I've been trying to start. It's actually talking to yourself, talking to your DNA, and using your intuition, which information I need to know. So your discernment about all the information all around, it depends on your inner knowing. So what I experience actually, I grab information. If it resonates to my inner knowing, I remember it. If not, I forget. Automatically. I can read everything, but what I remember is what's inside. So actually, you trust yourself, and you just get some confirmation from outside. Oh yes, this. And sometimes you get also some information how to express that, what you already know inside. So that's the next is actually the intuitive age.
I can feel that with information as well. Like I, don't operate a lot in my head anymore. And when I observe or hear information, I can feel intuitively whether it's truth or not. Yeah.
Whether you resonate or not. Like I told you, I spent one night at the post office square
for Occupy.
Yeah, with the Occupy.
Okay, let's go into Occupy, because obviously Occupy is a group of people who have progressively found something wrong and have gotten together and have created this action that was needed to help a positive change. So can we, I guess, Paul, what was the seed of Occupy? What started it off?
I observed when Occupy first started. I think it started with probably a handful of people in New York for Occupy Wall Street, where they started to stand up and talking about the financial inequality and social injustice that's occurring throughout the world, and how that interfaces and relates to what's going on in the world with the wars and removal of governments and then reinstating puppet governments and running centralised bank systems, which is normally part of the Rothschilds.
Well, I think you can figure out what countries actually did get taken over by what sort of bank they've got.
Yeah.
You can actually look and find the trails of every reserve bank in each country and go, oh, wait a second. Oh, he owns that one. He's owns that. Oh, wait a second. Oh, okay. So they're really not real countries. Because if you have a banking system owned by someone who's not even part of your country, it means you got taken over, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Financially hijacked.
Yeah.